A monopolistic market is a market where there is no competition. So one characteristic is first of all, there is no competition. Monopolistic market can enjoy economies of scale. There is usually no advertisement because they don't want to leak their information as it relates back to what they are doing, more than just what they are doing, but they don't want to reveal the products. So no other producer of the goods or services. So the monopolistic market structure, because they are the only producer of the good, they do enjoy economies of scale, meaning that they could um set the price ceiling. All right, state the factor of production under which each of the following are classified. Um, Land, we have rent. Capital, we have interest. Entrepreneurship, we have profits. And labor, we have wages. So that's about it. Now it says here, C, describe two ways in which a monopoly market structure differs from a monopolistically competitive market structure. This is quite substantiative and simple in all senses. So to begin, in a monopolistic market structure, there is no competition. However, on the other hand, there is many buyers to many sellers in a monopolistic market, essentially. Another difference is that there is no global trade in the monopolistic market structure. However, in the monopolistically competitive market structure, there is essentially competition. There is essentially globalization of trade and trade liberalization. These are the terms. Let's look into some other diversificative conceptualization. Explain how the existence of the water company as a monopoly for distribution of water can cause market failure. Um, since you are the only producer of this particulate good, essentially, and if you are taking up the price to a high degree, because people need water in order to live, essentially. And if there's only one producer, essentially, of water, that will lead to a lot of disarray, conflict, and substantiatively um, compelling issues as relates back to the markets. Define each of the following terms. We have factory production. The factors of production is what is needed for production to take place. Without it, essentially, there can be no there can be no visibility. There can be no production process. Long run is a short-term investment for business expenses and development. So that's basically it. It's short-term investment for long-term gain. This could be in the format of expanding the business or making it much bigger and wider, essentially. Let's look into question B. Identify one type of business or organization. There's a lot. There's private limited companies, public limited companies, conglomerates. There is sole trader, partnership, corporations, multi-limited companies, or multinational companies. There's a lot of different companies. Explain two internal benefits that a firm receives from expanded production in the long run. So two internal benefits is that the production process is increased and the profits also increase because the business is more bigger. They're more flexible. So production capacity is increase in wages. The financial wages experience from the wages is drastically increased. Let's look at question 4 to define the term fiscal policy. Fiscal policies are essentially monetary policies in order to regulate the amount of inflows and the amount of outflows of money, essentially. And it says here lists three types of employment. There's a lot of different types of employment, such as structural unemployment, real wage unemployment, and seasonal unemployment. There's a lot of different types of unemployment. Let's look at types of inflation now. There is demand pull inflation. There's cost push inflation, and there is imported inflation. Let's look at the CET, that is common external tariffs, that is usually imposed by a union. For example, the EU might impose a certain amount of taxes on non-member states. The CARIFETA, all of these other business organizations might impose a tax on non-member states essentially. Let's look at the WTO, the World Trade Organization. These are the main policymakers of trade laws, trade incentives in order to make trade as fair and as free as possible. Identify one non-tariff barrier to trade, that is quota. This is the amount of goods or services that could be essentially brought into a country at a time. So balance of trade is the total amount of goods traded between countries. We have currency appreciation. Currency appreciation refers to the increase in the value of one currency relative to another in the foreign exchange market. Um, this usually happens between different currencies of different economies, essentially. Let's look at discuss the policies that can be implemented. Um, Monetary policies, fiscal policies, and there is a lot of different differentiating policies to say. Now let's take a look at some paper 2. This is from the year 2018, I think. So discuss whether, so assume that there is a 20% increase in the price of medicine and a 20% increase in the price of soda. Discuss whether the percentage change in the quantity demanded will see greater results. The quantity demanded will both be less. Uh, fuck. Since there's a 20% increase, because the forced law of demand states as the price of a good or service goes up, the demand will decrease. So essentially both will increase, both will decrease in demand, and decrease in demand, and people won't want it as much because of the price. So this is before the change in the price of soda. 300 bottles of soda were sold per week after the 20% increase. So we'll take a stop right here. That'll be everything for now.
Watch my 9mm go bang. Wa-da-da-dang, wa-da-da-da-dang. Watch my 9mm go bang. Wa-da-da-dang, wa-da-da-da-dang. Player haters, masturbators, bitches all up in my shit. Living scared, you know you did. Walking around with a crippled leg, heavy score, tried to take my shit.